Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to my video today. So this video is going to be a bit different. It's not a travel vlog because my next trip isn't planned for a few weeks, but it is content that I thought would be really helpful if you're planning on visiting or moving to Germany. And that is, what is the best way that you can travel between German cities? Different cities in Germany have different vibes or feelings or reasons why you want to travel there. And you have, for example, Berlin, which is a city known for being quite artistic and diverse and free-spirited and great if you want to learn about World War II history. Or in comparison, you have Munich, which is in the south of Germany, in Bavaria. And this is known for Oktoberfest, and it's great if you want to learn more about Bavarian culture and traditions. So think Dirndls and Lederhosen. And even if you're not planning on traveling to different cities, but you want to maybe take a day trip just outside of a city, you have Munich, for example, and right outside you have Neuschwanstein, which is the Schloss, or the castle that inspired Cinderella's castle. And you just want to know, what's the best way that I can get from one place to another? Well, this video is for you, and I hope that this will make your travels as smooth as possible. I'm going to go through the different pros and cons of 4 different types of travel methods, that being plane, train, bus, and car. All right, before we get to the main content of this video, I just wanted to remind you that if you like my travel vlogs or my videos, you should go ahead and click the subscribe button, and feel free to comment below if you have any recommendations or wishes of where you think I should travel next, or especially any content within Germany. If you have any questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. All right, let's go. So the first method of transportation I want to discuss with you are planes. So I know you're thinking, Germany is a relatively small country. Why would you want to fly? And typically you probably wouldn't. This is pretty much for people that want to fly from, for example, one of the northernmost cities, Hamburg, for example, and you want to fly to somewhere in the south. So for example, Munich. Then flights might be one of the better options. Prices, especially very short term, can sometimes be cheaper than the trains. Planes can also be very fast in comparison to other methods of travel. You do have to take into account how long does it take for you to get from your accommodation to the airport, how long approximately am I going to need to arrive beforehand, but the plane ride itself is pretty short. Another pro is that it's probably one of the most comfortable options, at least I think so, depending on who you're sitting next to, or if the person next to you stinks. I don't know, there's a lot of things that can happen on a plane ride, but in terms of the amount of space you have and just sitting in the train and relaxing, not really wondering, okay, when is my stop coming? Is it coming in a half an hour? Is it coming in 15 minutes? You can kind of just wait for your plane to land. And also, once you get to the airport, there are always very clear signs that will tell you how you get to the city center. So those are pretty much the pros of flying. There are a few cons. One of the major cons would be cost. There are 2 main airlines. There's probably a few more, but 2 that I've flown with anyways, and they can be quite pricey. But if you're lucky and you book ahead of time, they shouldn't be too expensive. So that could be a potential con. Airports tend to be outside of the city. There are, for example, I lived in Bremen for a while, and the airport there is right pretty much in the middle of the city. But there are other airports where it can take up to an hour to get with the train or bus or whatever form of transportation you're taking into the city is. And that can add to the time you're commuting or time that you're traveling, and that can influence your decision there. The third con, and probably the most important to me, is that it's just not environmentally friendly to fly, especially such short distances. So if you have another option and it's about the same amount of time, I would actually probably recommend you choose to go with the train, for example. Almost forgot to mention, if you are traveling by plane, you should also always make sure that you're looking at the small detail, the fine print on your ticket to see if they accept luggage, because a lot of times you're going and you're looking for the cheapest ticket and you don't realize that it doesn't include luggage. You get to the airport and you have to pay 50 euros in fees for one direction flying. And this will really increase your costs. So the second method of transportation I want to discuss, which is probably my favorite method between cities in Germany, are trains. Trains have a lot of pros. We already discussed environmental friendliness, but they also are really great in terms of comfort. So you've got different types of trains in Germany. You've got the ICE or ICE, if you're reading it kind of in English, and these are the fast and long distance transportation trains. They're quite reliable, they're really comfortable, and they are probably the best option if you're going from big city to big city. Another great thing is that they bring you directly to the city center. So if you're a tourist and you're traveling to a city, you're probably going to your accommodation that's also in the city center. So this will take you directly there, and you can either walk or take public transportation to your accommodation, and it's a lot more convenient, I would say. On the train, you can also reserve your seat, and I would really recommend that you do this if you're taking the ICE. And you can choose a seat right next to the window, a seat with a table, and this really improves your level of comfort on the train. You get like also footrest, and this just improves the overall quality of the transportation, especially if you're sitting on the train for 6 hours, which is quite possible. Next, moving on to the cons. Traveling by train is paradoxically more expensive than flying sometimes, which I don't really understand. You would think that traveling by train would be cheaper. And this just means that if you want to book quite soon before your trip, you can end up paying a lot more. So I would always recommend buy your tickets a few months in advance so that they're still more affordable, I suppose. Also, something that you really have to be aware of is the time that it takes for you to transfer. So this will always be listed on your ticket. And if you're going to transfer in a bigger city, then it can take anywhere from, I would say, give yourself 10 to 15 minutes. And you just have to remember, if there's a delay and you're 5 minutes delayed and you only had 10 minutes to transfer, you're going to end up running through the train station with your luggage, and that's never a good situation to be in. And no one helps you, and it's terrible. And then the escalators don't work, and there's a bunch of things that can go wrong with that. So make sure that you have enough time to take your transfer. It's just like when you're flying, you want to have enough transfer time so that you're not missing your connecting train or your connecting flight. So that's just something to be aware of. If your train is delayed, and I really want to talk about this because Germany is known for being efficient, but it is not always that efficient. I mean, in comparison to other countries probably, but there are train delays, and sometimes you go and you look and your train just isn't coming today, and it's a terrible situation to be in. So if this does happen to you, they have information centers at all the main train stations. It's called DB, Deutsche Bahn Info, and it's this big red sign, and you can go there and you can get a new connection, and if there's a problem, they'll always help you there. Or there is also an informational hotline that you can call, and they'll tell you what your best chances are of getting a new connection. You know, delays also happen if there's a storm. If there's any snow in Germany, people freak out because they just don't have the infrastructure to handle that. So it is something to be aware of. So think about the time of year that you're traveling and what your plan B is if something does happen, which it doesn't happen very frequently. Make sure that you have your options available and you know who to contact in case there's any problem with your train. So those are the pros and cons of trains. I am sad that I ended with cons because it makes it sound like it's not that great of an option, but I think it is the best. But I'm going to go on to probably the second best option if you are kind of on a budget and you want to travel from city to city directly, and that's buses. So the biggest pro of buses is obviously the cost. There is a big bus company in Germany called Flixbus, Flixbus, I'll write it on the screen. And they're these bright green buses that stop in pretty much every city, I want to say, and also smaller cities they stop in. And they are just like the long distance type of bus. So you get in your seat and you sit there until you're pretty much there. You rarely have to transfer. I would say they pretty much always go directly where you're going. And you can get from the northern part of Germany to the southern part of Germany for like $30. It's really, really cheap. So if you are on a strict budget and Germany is not always the cheapest country to travel to, then maybe this is an option for you. You just have to be aware that if you're going from city to city, it can easily take quite a bit of time to get there. I would say probably double the time that a train would take. But if you have that time, or if you have like a night where you can sit on the bus and take a red eye, then I don't see why you wouldn't. I almost trust bus schedules more than I trust the train schedules in Germany, mostly because I've never had an issue with the bus. They've always been punctual. They've always shown up. So maybe it's also a bit more of a secure option if that's what you're looking for. Oh, another con. I get a little bit car sick, and for some reason that's amplified when I sit in buses. And just especially if you're driving, so you're going usually longer distances and you'll be traveling on the Autobahn or the highway. But the time that you're in the city going to the bus station, that to me is just the worst thing in the world. And they're constantly braking, and I just like sit there and like put my cheek up against the window. But if you don't have that problem, or if you do, just bring like some pills that you can take that help with nausea if you get car sick. My 2 cents anyways. Okay, those were the pros and cons, but there's one more thing I want to describe to you if you're going to take the bus, and that's the ZOB. And this is pretty much just the central bus station. And this is usually located either like attached to the main train station, which is the Hauptbahnhof, or it's adjacent to it. It's usually just right in that area within walking distance. And from my experience, I wouldn't want to go there usually alone at night, especially in big cities. I don't know why, but the bus stations just kind of tend to attract like a little bit of creeps. I don't know, like as a young woman, I probably wouldn't want to go there and stand there at 2 a.m. in the morning waiting for my red-eye bus or anything like that. Unless I was with a friend, then I don't think that you're going to have a problem. So safety is a little bit of an issue. During the day, it's completely fine. You shouldn't be worried about it. But at night, that's just kind of where like people hang out that are up to no good. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. But always look, you'll see it at train stations, ZOB, and you'll be able to find your way. Or there's always people that you can ask. Everyone speaks English, or pretty much everyone. So if you have a question, where the heck is this place? Just ask SOB or ZOB, and they'll point you in the right direction. Finally, I want to talk about the last and probably the least popular option for traveling from city to city within Germany. Because the public transportation is so great here, people don't typically rent out cars, I would say. If you're traveling, especially as like a young backpacker or whatever, then I just can't really imagine that many people wanting to rent cars, but I'm going to talk about the option anyways. Pros. It's obviously more flexible. If you have a ton of stops and there's like going down a line and you have your trip all planned out nice and neat, then maybe it's nice to have a car so that you can easily leave whenever you want in the morning and get there whenever you want. And oh, I saw this really cool sign that's pointing towards this museum. I think I'm gonna go head over there, and it just provides you with a lot more flexibility. And then obviously one of the greatest things about driving a car, which you probably already know, is comfort. You don't have someone eating a stinky doner right next to you on the train, and you can listen to your own music. You don't have to listen to the 15-year-old girl's pop music playing so loud in their headphones that you hear every single word that's being said. You can just relax, sit in your car, make stops whenever you want to. And I think that's like the nicest thing as well, is just the comfort level. But there are obviously cons. This isn't the most environmentally friendly option. This is probably one of the most expensive options, because not only do you have the rental car costs, you also have to pay for gas, and gas is ridiculously expensive in Germany, which I'm going to discuss in my next video about driving in Germany. But yeah, gas is crazy expensive, so I probably wouldn't even want to do this. It's probably more expensive than the other options. Another con is that driving can sometimes take a long time. Like you look at Google Maps and it's like, oh yeah, only 4 hours. And you're like, great. And then you start driving and then there's an accident. And then all of a sudden you're sitting for 2 hours in traffic and there's nothing you can do about it. And Google didn't tell you beforehand. And then you have to find parking. And sometimes like with Airbnb, you can check, or a hotel, you can see if they have parking spots. But if they don't, and you have to park in a city, this can be super expensive. And it can be really stressful trying to find a parking spot. This is one of my least favorite things about driving, is like panicking trying to find parking and then having to parallel park and all the cars behind me getting mad. So that's a different con, definitely a con if you're going to be driving, is trying to find parking spots in a city. Good luck. So save yourself the hassle and take a train or bus. That would be my recommendation. So guys, those are the big 4 ways that you can travel between cities in Germany. If you like this video, go ahead, give this video a like. If you're interested in more videos from me, please subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. And if you want to see more about my trips or my life in Germany, you can head over to my Instagram page. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.